Hi guys, my name is Joshyvibe, and in today's tutorial we are going to be building a Recaptcha system inside our login and sign up form. So this is the finished product. We are going to build this from scratch. Let's try to log in with this so you can see how it works. Let me input the right password. Okay, now let me try to submit without ticking the I'm not a robot checkbox. Okay, please complete the Recaptcha test. So let me put the password again. Okay, now robot, submit. Okay, so we are redirected back to our home, which is the newsletter. Okay, now let me log out. Let's go to our sign up. You will see that inside our sign up we still have the Recaptcha checkbox implemented and is functioning effectively. So we are going to be building this. I'm going to be showing you how to implement it, and also probably talk about what Recaptcha is all about in the next video. So buckle up your shoes, get ready, and join me in the next video. Let's code. Guys, welcome back to the tutorial. I have already set up the project that we are going to be working on. If you don't know how to set up a Django project, I have done previous videos that captures that. For this particular video, I believe for you to want to implement Recaptcha in a Django project, you must have had previous knowledge of Django and understand how to set up a Django project. But if you don't, no problem, I got you covered. I have past tutorials I have done capturing that. I'm also going to add the link to that particular video in the description of this video, so you can go back to it, watch it, and quickly set up your project, then come back to join us to implement your Recaptcha system in your login and sign up form. With that being settled, now let's begin the tutorial for today, which is a Recaptcha system. Now, before we continue, I think it's important for us to understand what Recaptcha is. So let's go to Google and ask what Recaptcha is. Now, Recaptcha is a system owned by Google. It enables web hosts to distinguish between human and automated access to websites. So now let's also look at what people are saying here, or what people are asking. What is Recaptcha? Recaptcha is a free service that protects your website from spam and abuse. Recaptcha uses an advanced risk analysis engine and adaptive captchas to keep automated software from engaging in abusive activities on your site. It does this while letting your valid users pass through with ease. Now, with this being understood, let's go to Google and set up our Recaptcha API, which is going to help us to be able to implement and build our Recaptcha system in our web application. Now you go to google.com/recaptcha/about. First, for you to be able to use it, you need to have an email from Gmail. So you need to have a Google Mail for you to be able to access this. I'm currently logged in as a Google email. So once you have your Gmail ready and you go to Google, search for Recaptcha, you will see this. Then you go to google.com/recaptcha/about. Inside the Recaptcha/about, this is where we are going to now set up our Recaptcha system and be able to get the API that we are going to use to work inside our Django application. So let's go to v3 admin console here. You click on v3 admin console. Then you will see the label here. For the label, the name of what we are doing, I'm going to use test because it's just a test project. Now, Recaptcha type, verify request with a score, then challenge to verify request with a challenge. For now, I'm going to choose the easier one, which is challenge version 2. Then I'm also going to use I'm not a robot checkbox, which is the easier one, instead of using the invisible Recaptcha badge. Now, let's add a domain. Since we are building from our local host, we are going to use the admin for local host. Let me copy this. Now let's go back here. Let's add our localhost admin. Gonna remove this HTTP and also remove this 800. Okay, so this is our localhost here. 127.00.1. so when you do that, everything is set up, then you go ahead and submit. Okay, so yeah, this is it. Everything is now set up. We have our site key and also the secret key. We are going to use both keys inside our admin to be able to build our project. Okay, now let's go back to our terminal here. Inside our terminal, let me open our terminal. So let me activate our virtual environment first. Vmv scripts/activate. Okay, that was wrong. Vmv script activate. Okay, now let's seed into our project repository, Recaptcha. Okay, now let's create our first app, and the only app you are going to use to build the template of our Recaptcha project. As usual, to create an app in Django, you use python manage.py, start app, you call it core. Okay, our app has been opened. Now let's go into our settings.py file. Inside our settings.py file, let's register our core app. Core, save. Now the next thing we are going to do is to install Django Recaptcha library. The Django Recaptcha library is the library that's going to help us to implement our Recaptcha inside our Django website easily and also faster. So let me go to Google and show you how you get the library. If you go to py.org, as you can see, you're seeing Django Recaptcha. You search in the Google and it brings out Django Recaptcha as we did here. Then we went to py.org. Inside py.org, you see here pip install Django Recaptcha. This is what we're going to use to build our Recaptcha inside our Django project. You can go ahead and read the project description, understand more about the libraries and how to use a lot of it. As you can see here, this is a note. Django Recaptcha supports Google Recaptcha version 2 checkbox default. It supports the invisible and Google Recaptcha version 3. Please look at the wiki, so you can read a lot about it. This place will guide you. Let's follow this process to handle the installation for our Recaptcha. First thing first, let's install pip install Recaptcha. Let's go back to our terminal, paste this, then enter. Okay, now that we have done installing this, let's go back to here and follow the next process. Once you have done installing, after installing the pip Django Recaptcha, you add captcha to your installed apps. So let's copy this and add it to our installed apps. Come to our installed apps. Below core, we paste the captcha. Okay. Let's go back and see the next step. Now, the next step is to add the Google Recaptcha keys generated in step 1 to your Django production settings with Recaptcha public key and Recaptcha private key. Note that omitting these settings will default to a set of test keys referred to local development and functional testing for more information. So we're going to copy this, then we replace the info inside the string here with the keys we have here. This is what we're going to use to replace what we have here. So let's go back, let's paste, let's paste it below here. Paste this. Now first let's copy for the public key. Go back here. Let's come to our Google Recaptcha admin. Then let's copy the site key. The site key is the public key. Go back, remove this, paste. Now let's copy our private key. This is our secret key, also known as private key. Go back, remove this, paste. Alright, now what is the next step? Once we are now done with this, we don't need to set this up. We also don't need to set this up. Okay, this is how we're also going to set up our form to be able to capture the Recaptcha field inside our login and sign up form. Now I think I'm done with this. Let me close this. Let's go to our code, save this. Now before we continue, let's quickly run migrate our database and set up our application, the default Django authentication. Python manage.py migrate. Okay, now that we've migrated, let me clear this also close the terminal for now so we can have space and start building our views and set up our form. So the first thing I'm going to do inside the core app is to set up the views for our login and also for sign up. But before we set up the views for login and sign up, we have to create a form that will capture our login and also our sign up. Once we are done setting that up, then we will set up our views with the login form we created inside the forms.py. So I'm going to create a new file here, call it forms.py. Inside the forms.py, let's set up the form for our sign up and also login. Let me close this. Now let's import the necessary libraries we need. First we import from Django import forms. Next we import from Django.config import settings. Next we import from Django.contrib.auth.models import user. Next we import from Django.contrib.auth.form import user creation form, then authentication form. Okay, next we also import from Recaptcha.widget import Recaptcha 2 checkbox. Okay, import from captcha.fields import Recaptcha field. Okay, now let's first of all set up the class for our sign up form. Class sign up form. Now inside the sign up form, get the user creation form. First we get the first name equals to forms field, then mass length equals to 50, required equals to 2. Let me duplicate this. For our last name, change this to last name. Next we'll set up for the email field, email equal to forms.field. Okay, let's change this to email field rather. Email field, and we'll get a help test. Help test will be a valid email address, please. Required equals to true to be full stop. We'll set up the Recaptcha. Inside the Recaptcha, we'll get the Recaptcha field. Now inside the Recaptcha field, we'll add the widget. We set the widget to Recaptcha v2 checkbox and comma. We'll also set an error message. I'm going to set this up shortly in our settings.py file because that is where we are going to. I want to modify the required field error to capture a particular message instead of always having a required field message, the normal default one. So I'm going to modify it to capture what I'm setting here inside the error messages. So here we'll set the required, then settings dot. Before we get this, let's go back to the settings in our settings.py file. Let's set up the call it Recaptcha error message underscore error message equals to the error we want to get. The error that I'm setting only is required. You can add more errors if you want. Required, then let's say please complete the Recaptcha test. Then you can add more errors if you want. This is the only error I'm adding for here. Okay, let's also set up the login URL. Login URL equals to login. Okay, let's close this here. Let me also set for the logout redirect. Okay, now let's save, go back to our forms. Now we import the Recaptcha error message we set up in the settings dot Recaptcha. Okay, let's go back to the settings and copy it. Copy this, replace it with this. Now required is what we are getting. Come right here. Alright, so let's set the class for meta. Class inside the meta we'll get the model user. Next we will define the save function. We'll get self, comma, then commit equals to true. Inside this function we'll say user equals to super bracket sign up form, comma, then self dot save bracket commit equal to false. What we're going to do is say user dot email. This is going to help us to be able to use email as also for login. So user dot email equals to self dot cleaned data email. Let's use an if statement to commit this. I'll do if commit user dot save, then return user. This should be on its own, not under the if. We have set up the class sign up form. We set the first name field, the last name field, the email field, then we also set the Recaptcha. So inside the Recaptcha, we got the widget for the checkbox, then we also set the error message with the settings error that we set here. Then we also got the error message, which we changed by making modification to it inside our settings.py for the required error. Instead of the capturing normal field required, it will capture please complete the Recaptcha test. Now let me set up for the login as well. Let's set up the login form class, login form. Inside here we'll get authentication form. We'll do def init initializer, then self argument, then quags. Now for this initializer, what we're gonna do is super in bracket, we'll get the login form. Inside the login form, we'll do self, we'll do dot initializer argument, then quags star, not true star. Let's set the username equals to forms.child okay, we get equals to forms test input, comma, set attributes equals class, set this for form control, then placeholder, this is our own string. We set it to be user name or email. For the label, close this here, copy this. For the password, duplicate this, change this to password, forms.password input, let's change this to be password. I don't need this, move the label here, close this. Now let's also set the Recaptcha. Let's copy this one here, let's set it below here. So our login form is set up, everything looks good to go. Now let's go to our views and set up our views for login and also sign up. Let's also import some libraries. We will need to work on this. First, let's import the form we just created from that forms. Import sign up form and login form. Let's import from django.contrib.auth import login, logout, authenticate. Let's also import messages. Contrib import messages. First, let me quickly set up our index, def index. Inside here we'll use request, and let's render request again, then render call slash index.html. Now let me set up for the sign up first. Def sign up request. First we say if request dot method equals to post form equals to sign up form. Now this should be return render, not just render, return render. Okay, so this should be form and not from. Okay, now we do request dot post. Next we say if form dot is underscore valid and form dot recaptcha dot is valid, then create the user and log them in. So we say user equals to form dot save, then we get login. Inside login we get request, comma, user. The next thing we're going to do is messages dot success. We use request, comma, formatted string, then we say new account created, then user dot username. Okay, next we do return redirect. Let's import redirect here, then we redirect back to our home. Once we redirect back, we say else. If all these things it does not work, then we'll check for error. So we'll do for key error in list, then forms.errors.items. This is form and not forms. Then we'll do if key equals to captcha and error 0 equals to this field is required. Show a message, messages dot success request, comma, you must pass the Recaptcha test. Okay, then we continue. Once we continue, we then say messages dot error request, comma, then error. This is and else. We do form equals to sign up form equals to sign up form, return render request, comma, call slash sign up dot html, comma, we get the form. So our sign up is set. we first check if the request is method. We'll go ahead and get the form. Once we validate that the form and also the reCAPTCHA is valid, we go ahead and save the form. Then we get the login request and the user. We log them in and redirect them to home. Else, we check if there is error in the key list. We go ahead and check if the error is this field is not required, which is usually error 0 in the list of errors. We then go ahead to get a message if the error is this field is not required. We change that this field is not required to a message, you must pass the reCAPTCHA test. We continue and get the messages.error. Else, we return the sign up form. We render the sign up HTML. The next function I'm going to set up is custom form. Custom login, not custom form. Custom login request. Now inside the custom login, we'll do if request dot method again equals to post, then form equals to login form. Inside the login form, we'll set request dot post. Once we set the request dot post form, then we'll go ahead and say if the form dot is underscore valid user equals to authenticate. Inside the authenticate, we'll get the username equals to form dot clean underscore data. We set it to username. Put comma here. Let me make this faster. Change this to password. So if user is not null, login request user use messages dot success request hello. Let's use this user dot username. Then we'll close this break here. Then you have been logged in. Next we'll do redirect, return redirect. Let's also redirect back to home. Else, let me copy this key error we used here. Yeah, it's the same thing. Paste it here. Then else form go to login form, return render request, comma call slash login dot html, comma form. Our login form is set. Now let me also set up the views function for our logout, custom logout. We use request here, then logout request, then messages dot success request, comma logged out successfully. Next we do return redirect home. Save. Now let's set up our URLs for the views we implemented here. Let me create a new file, urls.py. Now let's go back to the URLs file of our project inside Recaptcha. I'm going to register and include the URLs for our core app inside the project URLs part. So let's add include here, include, then let's duplicate this, let this be empty here, then remove this. We'll have include core the URLs. Okay, save. Let me copy this and use it to make adjustments inside our URLs for our core app. Paste this here. We don't need admin and we don't need to import the admin library here. Now let's import our views from .views. Import, we set up the index, also set up for sign up, also did for the login, and we did for the logout. For this one will be for our index. I have to remove this. We don't need include here. Now I'm gonna use index here for our name equals to index2. And we duplicate this. Register this one for sign up. Change this one for login. Also do this for logout. For the sign up here, you can include sign up. Also do for the login here. Do for the logout as well. Okay. Save the URL. Next thing is to set up our template inside our core. Create a new folder called templates. Inside the templates folder, I'll create a subfolder called core. Now inside the call, I'm going to create our base.html. For this template part, I have already set it up, so let's quickly copy and use it. Cut this out. Okay, this is our base, the Recaptcha website. So I did the request the user is authenticated so that the logout and login and also the sign up will only come up when the user is either logged in or logged out. Now let's also create another file for our index. Here I set up the newsletter form, index.html. Now let's copy from here. This is it. Cut it out. Go back. Paste it. Now because I'm not setting up the action for the form, I'm going to remove this action here that I set and put index, because that's not available. And I'm also going to remove this image here as it's not available as well. So remove this. Also remove this load static that I put here. Now for the form errors, not available, but we can just leave it there. Okay, I think this form will work this way. Now let's also set up the template for our sign up form. Sign up.html. Inside the sign up, let's go to our notes here. Cut it out. Paste it here. Okay, so the whole code will be made available inside my GitHub, so you can have access to the code and use it to build on your own. This is the sign up form that I've set up. I also set up the forms.error to check if there are errors inside the form. This is the form.recaptcha that I implemented. This is where the form.recaptcha field is going to come, and this is the other details about already logged in, already have an account login. So yeah, this is how the sign up form is. Next, we also have to set up the form for our login.html. Inside the login.html, let's go back to the notes, copy this, let's cut it, nothing is here again, paste it here. So this is the login form. The same way I set up the sign up form, I also have the error set up for any errors that is captured in the fields and also non-field error. So yeah, let's save this. Now open our terminal, try to run our server to see. Okay, before we run our server, we have to also, let me quickly create a super user so that we'll check in our admin to see if we are able to save users in our admin. So python manage.py, create super user. So I'm going to call this to be Joshyvibe. Next, let's use j@gmail.com. Then create the password. Okay, now that our super user is created, let's test run by running python manage.py run server. Okay, let's go back to our Chrome. Let's refresh this. Okay, invalid block tag on line 7 static. Okay, I still left the CSS here, so I have to remove it. I think it's inside the base. Did I load any CSS here? Okay, remove this as we don't need it. We are using Tawin CSS in this entire project, so let's go back to refresh and see which other error. Okay, this is showing, but it's not looking good because I don't have access to internet. So let me on my Wi-Fi so we can have access to internet, then refresh it and see, because we need internet to be able to see if the Recaptcha is working or not. So let me refresh this now. Okay, so this is how it's looking. Let's go to login. Login missing one required argument, user. Okay, this is because the way we set up our URLs, remember we used custom login, but inside the URLs, what did we do? Let me close this. I don't need this for the captcha. Inside the URLs, yeah, instead of importing it that way, I imported login instead. So this should be custom login, and also custom logout. Okay, so I'm gonna change this to custom login, then also change this to custom logout. Okay, save, go back, let's refresh now. Let's go back, refresh this. Okay, YSGI request object has no attribute method. Okay, it's rendering our login. So the error we actually having is from our views. So let's go back to our views function to figure out what's wrong. Okay, and line, let's go back and see which line we are getting this error from. Line 30. Okay, this should be method. There was no head in the method. Let's refresh again. Okay, so this is our login. Our login is showing. We don't have any account yet. Okay, we have one we set up for our super admin. So let me try and use it to log in. Joshyvibe, then let's log in. Tick the Recaptcha, submit. Let's see. Okay, our login is not working. Something is definitely wrong. So let's see if there is. Let's go back. Let me try and go to the admin. Okay, let me just sign up with another. Let's use Joshy here. Just use Joe. Praise. So let's use Joe at gmail.com. So okay, click on our Recaptcha. Let's submit. Sign up has no attribute Recaptcha. Okay, something is wrong from our views. So let's go back to our views. Let's remove this here. The form Recaptcha is part of the whole form. I don't see why I'm even using the and here to do it separately from the form itself. The form dot is underscore valid should be able to capture for the whole form, including the Recaptcha. Now let's go back. Let's try this. Refresh this again. Let's try to sign up. Joshy, Joe. Let's use this. Okay. We'll type the password again. I'm not a robot. Submit. Okay, good. We are now able to sign up finally successfully. All I just needed to do was to remove the and. Once we remove the form dot recaptcha dot is underscore valid, we were able to resolve the issue we are having. Now let me also go to the form. Inside the form here for, okay, yeah, I'm handling it correctly here for the login, but I was handling it wrong for the sign up. Now let's log out and try to log in again. Let me log this out. Let's log in with this now. Joshy is our username. Let's take the I'm not a robot. Submit. Okay, now our login is not working. Something is definitely wrong with it because I imputed the right username here, but we are not able to log in. So we have to go back to our console to see what's wrong. Let me try it again. Okay, even the form is not working at all because normally it was meant to show me the error that is making it not to log in, but that's all good. Okay, let's start from this one. This one is clean data and not date, so make this to be data, then also make this to be data. Okay, save. Let's go back and try to log in again. Refresh this. Now let's log in with Joshy. Submit. Okay, we still can't log in. Let me also try using this because these are the two accounts we have. Okay, still can't log in. Let's go back to the form. Let's cross check our code here to make sure there's no problem and also identify where our error is coming from. When we get our login form, when we do if request on method, we get the form equal to login form, then we check if the form is valid. If the form is valid, then we authenticate the user. We pull up the username, then password from that clean data. Okay, what we are doing here is form equals to login form, then we get the request or post, but I did not set the request here. I'm going to add request here. So request equals to request, then set this to be data equals to request.post, then we save. Thereafter we then go ahead to validate the form. So with this setup now, let's go back, refresh this to see if it will work. Let's refresh. Okay, it has gone on to log us in. So let me log it out and log in again. Let's use Joshi. I'm not a robot, checkbox. Let's submit and see if we are able to log in. Please enter a correct username and password. Note that both fields may be case sensitive. Okay, I think I made a mistake with the password. So let's try again. Okay, tick the box, then submit. Okay, so we are now able to log in. The setup is ready. We have been able to set up our Recaptcha to work for both the sign up and login form. Yep. Please remember, guys, it's important to subscribe to my YouTube to help me grow, and also drop your comments in the comment sections if you have any questions or you have any suggestions for me that can help make me do better videos for you guys. If you also have any particular issue or any project or functionality you want me to help you do a video about, all you just need to do is drop in the comment sections. I will go through it and build it for you. Without wasting your time, we have come to the end of the video, and I also want to reiterate again, it's important for you to subscribe. I remain your humble servant and your favorite tutor here on YouTube, Joshyvibe.